Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Dolapo and I film about faith, beauty and lifestyle. If you go through my channel, you'll probably see lots of videos about scholarships in the UK, how to apply for a fully funded scholarship. I was on a fully funded scholarship to study a master's degree in the United Kingdom. So if you're interested in knowing more about scholarships and how to apply and what scholarships are available, then do check out all the other videos on my channel. And also please do well to subscribe to this channel, because over here we're spreading and giving you good content, if you know what I mean. If you're a subscriber already, thank you so much for subscribing. I'm really grateful. You guys keep it up. So today's video is actually something that I feel like I've actually been thinking, like I've been planning to film this video for a long time, and I felt like, okay, I wasn't probably in the right position to answer as much questions as I could until like probably I've spent a while in the UK, because I didn't want to give answers to questions that I am not sure of, depending on the kind of questions I get. So I believe that this video is coming now, and I believe this is the right time to actually film this video. And it's basically a question and answer video. So if you're following me on Instagram, I put it up on my story that I was going to film this video, and anyone that would like to ask any questions about life and studying in the UK should put in their questions in the question box so that I can answer it through this video. I did get like a couple of questions, and I'm just going to be answering them. The ones that I can answer to the best of my ability, I'll definitely answer them. And yeah, I hope you do learn something from it as well. Just to put a little disclaimer, every answer I'm giving in this video is from my own personal experience. I am not an immigration agent. I do not offer immigration advice. Every answer I'm giving here, to the best of my ability, is based on my own personal experience. As much as possible, I will still refer you to go check out like the appropriate websites to find out enough information, basically. So disclaimer. So I'm going to go to the very first question. The first question says, are you studying in the UK? Currently, I'm not studying in the UK, but I was studying in the UK. I studied a master's course in public health and international development at the University of Sheffield, and it's a 1-year course. And yeah, it has come to an end now. I've written my dissertation, and that was a whole journey, to be honest, and it was 1 year filled with so many good memories. University of Sheffield is an amazing school, to be honest. Yeah, that's what I'm studying, or that's what I was studying. The second question is, the UK is very expensive. I am looking for a scholarship. So I'm guessing this person is probably asking like what kind of scholarships are available. So yeah, school fees is quite expensive here in the UK for international students. And what I would say is that if you're looking forward to getting a fully funded scholarship, you can check out my videos on this channel. I have about, I think maybe 3 or 4 videos talking about scholarships. I still have one more which I'm going to upload soon as well. So do check out those videos on my channel to find out more about scholarships and this kind of scholarship that you can apply for. Then most times I always still get these questions in my DMs as well, like where can I get a list of scholarships I can apply to. So one website I do know that you can check, which guest which I invited on my channel also talked about, was www.opportunitydesk.org. So if you go on that website, it will actually show you a list of like available scholarships that you can apply for, whether it's fully funded or it's partially funded, and the country as well. So it's not just limited to only UK. So if you're also looking for scholarships in other countries like the US, Canada, and other European countries as well, do check out that website. That's the one I know for now. But like I said in one of my videos up on my channel, when I was looking for scholarships, I just did a Google search basically. So when you just do a Google search, fully funded scholarships in the UK, there are so many websites that will list out scholarships. So basically it takes a whole lot of work to actually go through each site and find out, because at the end of the day, most of the sites will actually have the same kind of scholarships there. So most of the time, like, you will see the same scholarships being written in the same website, because they're all getting their information from like the school and all of that. So do your research as well. I did a Google search, like I said, and that was how I streamlined it based on the course I wanted to study, based on the kind of scholarship I wanted. and that was how I narrowed my search to finding the scholarship I was on. So that's my advice to you. So if you find studying in the UK pretty expensive and you're looking for a scholarship, that would be my advice for you. And like I said, there are actually lots of scholarship out there, but you just have to do your research. I don't have a list of scholarships, but the videos on my channel, these are like classmates and friends that were on fully funded scholarships, and I invited them to speak about it. So you can also check out those videos, and that should be helpful, hopefully. So the next question is, hi, please, I'm coming to the UK in January and I don't have anybody there. Can I survive? I feel you. Honestly, I do feel you. Coming to the UK alone without knowing anybody there can be kind of scary. It's definitely out of your comfort zone, and you're probably thinking, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make friends? How am I going to find a community and all of that? The thing is that some people are quite shy. So I kind of understand that, like, if you're a shy person, it would be difficult for you to go out and reach out to people and say hi and, you know, start a conversation. For me, for example, I think I was more open in the sense of not like inviting everybody or going to speak to everybody. But for example, in my course, we were like maybe only like, how many international students? Maybe like, okay, there were a few international students actually, but there are people that I saw in my course that I felt like I could connect to, if that makes sense. And I went out to, I reached out to them just starting like a simple conversation with them, and like, oh hi, how you finding the lectures, those kind of things. Before you know it, you're exchanging numbers. Before you know it, you're hanging out. Before you know it, you're close friends. So it just depends, to be honest. So I would say just try to be open. Don't try to be too quiet. And I understand that for some people it's hard for them because some people are shy, but what I would say is that, because if you're coming here alone, it can get really lonely. Even when you have friends, it can actually still feel lonely, more so if you don't have any friends at all. So what I would say is you just try to be open, try to reach out to people. For example, you can start with just your classmates, for example, and then before you know it, you might meet other students as well, maybe Nigerians or other African students, or even doesn't have to be only Africans or Nigerians. Like I have friends that are also like from the UK that were born in the UK as well. So it's just about like coming out of that comfort zone and actually meeting people, reaching out to them, speaking to them. You don't have to be close friends initially, but at least you know that, okay, there's someone I can always reach out to. And the reason why this is important is because when you first come to the UK, our system back home is different from the way the educational system is here. So when you come, you'll be quite confused at the beginning, to be honest. You'll be confused because I won't even lie, when I first came, it was hard for me to understand what my lecturers were saying because of the accent, to be honest. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I think so many people too can relate to that. When you first come, it might be difficult for you to even understand what your lecturers are saying. Let's say, for example, now your lecturer said, oh, you needed to submit an assignment, but you couldn't maybe understand him. If you don't ask someone in your group or someone in your class or someone that is taking your course as well to just confirm, you probably miss out on the assignment, and then it would be like, oh, you didn't do the assignment, but you probably did not know or you didn't hear. That was one thing that I knew that was important for me, that I needed to, interact with people in my class and my classmates so that we can share information, especially when you're coming from a different system, and over here, like their own way of, the educational system is different. So there are things that you have to start getting used to. There are things that you probably not understand in the beginning. So when you reach out to your classmates, when you talk to them, when you ask them questions and, form friendships or form relationships with them, that way they can pass information to you. Like, it's real, to be honest. So the answer is yes. Even if you don't have anybody there, you don't have any family here in the UK, you can definitely still survive. You just need to just probably come out of your comfort zone and reach out to people. Don't be too shy, if that makes sense, because you will need to ask lots of questions when you come, because there's so many things that you wouldn't understand. And then the next question is actually quite similar to this one. It says, how can you find community or like-minded people? Finding a community or like-minded people, I would say, is maybe quite difficult, depending on what kind of community you're looking for. Let's say for me, for example, then I'm a Christian, so most likely, like most of my community and people that are like-minded like me are people from my church. So that way it was quite easy for me. So what I would say that if you're a Christian as well, definitely find a Bible believing church in your city or close to where you stay. And I feel like that's kind of like the first place you probably find like a community or like-minded people. Even when you have a community or you have friends, it can still get lonely. I remember the first, and I've shared this on my Instagram as well. I remember sharing a post on Instagram talking about how lonely it can be when you're living abroad, and I was actually shocked with the amount of comments I was getting and the interaction from that post. And there were many people that were actually coming out and actually saying the same thing as well, how they felt really lonely. Some actually got depressed as well, and because of living abroad, basically, because over here everybody's minding their business, not like in Nigeria that you have cousins, you have grandma, grandpa, you have family friends, you have church members. You can just go to anybody's house, and just after Sunday you can just go to someone, your family friend's house or your cousin's house and just interact, and that kind of thing. Over here is quite different, so finding a community is quite important, and it helps with that loneliness. Basically, it helps you to know that you are not alone and you don't have to do life alone here. So what I would say that the first thing I would say that from my own experience was joining a Bible believing church. That was where I was actually able to find a community and like-minded people as well. Another place that you could do that would probably be, let's say peradventure, you go for like an event, or you go for and to be honest, I don't know how many people go for an event when they first come to the UK. But let's say, for example, let's say a classmate invites you for like a hangout or an event or something. That's another avenue by which you can actually meet people. So like I said before, try not to be shy will help, because if you're shy, you might not be able to meet and interact with people. But if you're just being open, just be open-minded, reach out to people. I don't think I've ever experienced someone snubbing me here in the UK. There might be snobs, doesn't mean that they're not snobs, but for me, I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? They'll stop me, I'll move on. I feel like it's also important to think about that as well. Like, if you go for events, if you're invited for events like parties or birthday parties or hangouts, use that as an opportunity to go out and meet people. So that way you might actually, get to meet like-minded people as well. So that's another avenue by which you can do that. And honestly, finding a community can be quite difficult if you first come. And that's why I say that it's also coming out of your comfort zone. So if you're a shy person, I totally understand. But maybe try to come out of that shyness or that comfort zone so that you can get to meet people and, get to be part of an amazing community as well. Other questions that I do get a lot is like how to apply for scholarships. Like I said, you can check on my channel. You see loads of videos there talking about scholarships and how to apply for scholarships as well, so do check that out too. Other questions that I do get as well is how much do you spend? For example, how much do you spend per month as a student? Like, basically talking about finances as a student. So when it comes to finances, it's quite, it's individual, basically. So for some people spend more than others, some people spend less than others. So it all depends on each individual. As a student, I would say definitely you want to try to save up as much money as you can. When it comes to spending as well, as a student, I don't think you have any business buying designer bags or designer shoes and all of that, because you're not earning money, basic, except maybe you are working, because some people are working and they are studying at the same time. So if they have the money, that's all fine. But if you're like me, that probably when you first came, you didn't really get a part-time job on time and you're kind of managing your finances, I would say try to be on a budget. And when it comes to how you spend, basically your rent will take the bulk of the money that you're going to be spending. So a student's hall or a student's accommodation will probably range from around, let's say, 350 to 500 per month. That 350 pounds to 500 pounds per month. And that's usually student accommodation includes bills, so you don't have to pay for bills separately. So it's between 350 to 500 pounds per month. And then food, now depending on how you eat You can spend about maybe £100 per month for food, depending on how you eat. And if it's just you alone, of course, if you're coming with a family, like the fees I'm giving to you is for someone that is living alone. If you're a family, it's going to be totally different, of course, because you're going to spend more if you're a family. If you're actually living alone, like you came alone, £100 a month for food might not be too bad, because food is not that expensive. Nigerian, or if you're a Nigerian or an African food may actually be more, costly than the normal food. But I would say around £100 per month should be good for food. So that's about, let's say, let us give an average of £400 for rent, £100 for food. That's about £500 now. Then transport. Now, a lot of people in the UK do walk, and that's something that I actually had to get used to eventually, because I had to save. So when I first came, I wasn't walking to school. I would take a tram, and a tram is like £2. So basically I was spending like £4 a day. So in a week, I'm spending close to about £20. So let's say in a week, I have, to be fair, I'll probably have lectures like 3 times a week. So that means I'll be spending like £12 in a week for transport. And that's minus going to church. Going to church is another £4. So let's just say like roughly £16-18 per week for transport. And when I went through my spending, I realized, no, that is actually a lot. So I started to walk to school, and where I live, the city I'm in, is literally like a hill. So I was walking uphill with my laptop in my bag, but eventually I actually got used to it. So a lot of people do walk, to be honest, except if you're living like really far. Like most people walk 30 minutes. Like that is, people walk 30 minutes. For me, anything more than 20 minutes is a stretch for me. I'll rather just take a bus or take a tram. Some people still walk, even if it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, some people still walk. So most people, I notice, actually most students actually do walk. Some people have bikes, they use a bike. But if you are a student and you're coming and you want to manage your money and your finances, what I would say is that definitely walk. That will save you more money actually. So at the end of the day, you might not spend up to like maybe at most £30 in a month, and that's for like maybe you're going to a place that is probably far from where you live and you just want to take a bus. So but if it's going to school every day and you're walking, I don't think you spend up to like £20 or £30 in a month for transport. So that is transport. Also, of course, like hangouts and like social interactions and all of that. Maybe you and your friends are going out to a restaurant or to eat and all of that. Let's say if it's like maybe once in or twice in a month you're doing that, you might spend like maybe around £50 to £60, depending on the restaurant you're going to and depending on the kind of social hangout you're going for. So let us say everything should amount, or probably amount to around maybe £750 per month. And that is like on average. Basically, some people do spend less. Like I've heard people that they say they don't spend up to like £600 per month. So like I said, it all depends individually. For me, I was probably spending up to like £750-800 per month, and that's probably because where I was staying, my student accommodation, I was paying around like £500 per month. So the remaining £300 was basically for my transport, food, toiletries, hangouts, offering, all those things. So it usually amounts to like £800 per month. Some people is lesser, some people spend up to £1,000 per month. So it all depends on you. But like I said, the helpful tips I've given to you as a student, if you want to manage your money and manage your finances, is walk. Honestly, if it's a walking distance to where you're going, walk. That will save you some coins. Also, like I said, food is not that expensive, but if you're someone that loves to eat more of Nigerian food or more of African food, you might tend to spend more money on that as well. And also, if you're coming, look for a student accommodation that is not too expensive. At least for a start, you want to start with something that is not too expensive, but at the same time, make sure that it's not a crappy apartment. So because it's cheap doesn't mean that you should stay in an apartment that is not conducive for you. So as much as possible, find a student accommodation. Your school may have a student accommodation and may be nice. Some people, like for me, for example, I didn't use my school's accommodation because it was quite far from the university. So I stayed in a closer, student accommodation from there. And how did I find it? So this going to my next question now about accommodation. So how can you find student accommodations? Me, I'm a Google babe. So of course I went to Google student accommodation in so city. It will bring out a list of all student accommodations for you, and please check reviews. I cannot overemphasize this. Check reviews because that was what saved me. I remember I was literally about to pay a deposit for one accommodation, but Holy Spirit to me was like, check the reviews. And I checked the reviews, oh my god, and I was like, oh, thank god I haven't paid. Like, the reviews of that accommodation was terrible. I don't want to mention the name of the accommodation, but it was terrible. And I was so grateful that I checked reviews. The student accommodation I ended up moving into, I checked the reviews for it and it actually had good reviews. And I kept checking. And I was looking for recent reviews, not reviews that were like last, a year before I'm coming in, like recent reviews, like 2 months, 1 month, even that same month. And I was seeing good reviews and I was like, okay, fine. And then I booked a viewing. So you can book a viewing, like an online viewing for that accommodation, so you don't have to be present in the UK before you can see the accommodation. So you can book a virtual viewing, which was what I did. So I booked a virtual viewing and then someone called me and then I did like a video call or something, and then they showed me the apartment, they showed me the room, and then they were like, oh, do I like it? I was like, yeah, it looks good, fine, no problem. So I paid the deposit, and when I came, I just moved in straight up. So I really want to advise, when you're coming to the UK, already have your accommodation sorted, because I hear stories of people who come and they have to lodge into Airbnb, and Airbnb is quite expensive. So if you want to save money, please have your accommodation sorted before you do come to the UK. That is so important. So that was one thing I did that really helped me to settle in better. Literally, I just moved in basically because my room was already there. I'd already paid my deposit, so there was no problem for me. So I would advise, please and please, especially when it's that peak period when a lot of students are coming in at the same time, accommodation can be really scarce to get. So let's say, for example, you are planning to come in January to the UK to start your studies. I would say by like November, December, already kind of have your accommodation sorted. And January intake, like a lot of students don't come in January, so you might still find some accommodations available. But if you're coming in September, like those that probably came last September might probably be able to attest to that. September is usually the rushing time where lots of students, and not just international students, even home students from the UK, they are also starting their courses in September, and they also use student accommodations. So that means that the competition is high, the rush is high. So what I would say is that have your accommodation stuff sorted. So like around, before I came, like in August, I already had my accommodation sorted by August. So yeah, I had to pay my rent for September, even though I was moving in end of September. But for me, that was better than coming and then not having a place to stay. So you may actually have to pay that. Unfortunately, for some accommodations, they might require that even if you're coming at the end of the month, you still have to pay the rent for that month, like the full month. So it's basically just to say that, okay, your room is secured and your room, no one is coming into your room, that kind of thing. So that was what I had to do. So I would advise again, have and sort out your accommodation before you come to the UK, so you don't have to start looking for accommodation up and down, if that makes sense. Yeah, so another question I usually always get, and this is from Christians probably, is finding a church. I remember someone that recently came to the UK texted me and was like, or before coming to the UK, she had DM'd me. I was like, oh, is it possible to find like Nigerian churches here? Yeah, sure. There's Redeem here, like the city I'm in, there are Redeem churches. Also some Nigerian churches. I can't quite remember the name of the churches, but there are Nigerian churches here. I don't go to a Nigerian church, but there are like Nigerian churches here. So it all depends on what you are looking for, basically. Another question I do get is about Nigerian food. So yes, there are lots of Nigerian food as well here in the UK. When you're packing and when you're coming, you don't have to bring loads of Nigerian foods, to be honest. Like, is there anything back home that I think is not here? I don't think there's anything I've wanted to eat in terms of Nigerian food that is not available here for you to buy. They have egusi, they have ogbono, they have, like, if you're an amala babe, they have like the elubo, they have pounded yam, they have plantain, they have yam, they have beans. There are loads of Nigerian stores in the UK, so depending on what city you are in, but most cities actually have a Nigerian store where you can get Nigerian food, so you don't necessarily have to pack your whole Nigerian. It's different. When I was still in school in Russia, getting Nigerian food in Russia is quite scarce. So yeah, that one I had to take a lot of Nigerian foods. But in the UK, you can get loads of Nigerian food, so you don't have to bother about that. Another question I usually get is about jobs. So most people normally ask about jobs, like, okay, how is it like finding a job? Like, for example, let's say you're a student finding a part-time job. So one thing I want to say is that if you're coming in as a student, you have a limit of 20 hours per week to work while you're studying. So basically that means you're going to be kind of looking for a part-time job, because full-time jobs are more than 20 hours per week. So part-time jobs are usually less than 20 hours per week. Finding a part-time job may not be as quick as you would expect when you first come. What I would say is that don't necessarily think that, oh, immediately you land UK like this, that week you find a part-time job. It may work for some, but not all the time. So what I would say is that if you're a student, for example, start from looking for part-time jobs in your school, in your university. So for me, for example, what I did was that I was looking out for open positions in my school, and thankfully, because I had already kind of interacted with people that had already done their masters as well, I kind of asked them to, like, oh, what kind of jobs can I get, like part-time jobs and everything. And I did get a recommendation to apply for a job as a student ambassador. So most universities have those job openings, like for example student ambassador roles for you to apply to. Now for a student ambassador job will be ideal for someone who is not necessarily having to raise up money to pay for their school fees, because the amount of money you get from a student ambassador job will not be enough for you to cover your school fees. That is if you are planning to work and cover your school fees. So what I would say that this is probably be a recommendation for those like on scholarships and you already have like your tuition fees already kind of catered for already, so you're basically just working for your just like your upkeep basically. I would say if that's what you're looking for, check it out. Most times your schools, your universities, they will put out job offers, so just be like be on the lookout for it. Then most universities also usually have like career fairs where they basically invite like different companies and organizations to come and kind of advertise their organization and the kind of jobs they offer and the roles they offer. So I would also advise that, you know, join the career fairs in your university. If they send an email saying that there's going to be a career fair or something, or a volunteering fair, I do advise for you to, you know, go for that, because that will kind of give you an idea of opportunities that are available for you to work part-time as well. And then some people do also like care jobs as well. So if that's something that you feel like, oh, you'd be interested in doing, there are also lots of care jobs available that, you know, students also do, as well as studying as well, just to kind of raise up funds for their school fees or for their rent and all of that. So it all depends on what you are looking for basically. Some people do work in like McDonald's or other like restaurants. Some people work in factories or supermarkets. Over here in the UK, there is dignity in every labor. Like nobody's going to look down on you that, oh, you're doing care job or you're doing cleaner job. So basically there is dignity in every labor over here. So what I would say is that definitely don't, it depending on what you are looking for and depending on your interest, you might find something, but how soon you find this when you arrive, that just depends basically. It really depends. There are different things that, you know, might come up and depending on what the employer is looking for, but it's still possible to definitely get a job, but it just depends on how soon you will get it. But there are jobs available if you're planning to work part-time as a student. So yeah, that is the final question. So I hope that this video has helped you and kind of giving you an idea. Like I said, the answers are just based on my own personal experience and what I know, and maybe just from information that I know. If you need more information in terms of like immigration information, please check the UK government's website. You can get loads of information out there, solid and concrete information. And yeah, that is it for this video. I hope that I've kind of answered your questions. For those that sent in questions, thank you so much. If I do get more questions, I'll probably do a part 2 of this video, but I don't want this video to be too long because it's quite long already. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share. I'll be so grateful, and I will see you in another video. Bye.